Welcome to Gate City Insider. I'm Rosemary Plybon. We are all looking forward to life returning to normal, and probably no one more than those in the arts community. Theaters and galleries are closed, performances and concerts canceled, and we don't have a timeline for when those things might resume. Still, art finds a way. Ryan Deal is City of Greensboro's Chief Creative Economy Officer. He is Zooming with us along with two artists who you might know for their work on the streets of Greensboro, Schala Harper and Sunny Gravely Foushee. Thank you for Zooming with us.
Thank you for having us.
Appreciate it.
Yes. Okay, Ryan, let me start with you. Can you describe in Greensboro what the past 4 months have really been like for Greensboro's creative community?
Well, I think it has been a time for innovation and a time for pivoting and a time for, maybe it's an overuse of the word, but it's been a time for creative individuals to think really creatively about what their work is and how it can take shape amidst all of the realities that we're living through in our time right now.
It's been difficult, to say the least, for our creative people in Greensboro because they couldn't do things the way they normally could. But we've also seen that art finds a way, and that creativity has blossomed.
Yeah, and so many folks, in particular performing arts, but also visual arts as well, have found interesting ways to move into this virtual space. And I've said lovingly that in some ways there's a name for that, and it's film and television, and that is honestly really different than what we typically think of as performing arts and visual art experiences, which thrive so much on the interconnectivity of people and relationships in person to bring the real magic to that work. But nonetheless, through platforms like Zoom, what we're on today and the like, we're finding ways to share creativity, but also hold on to that really important human connection that's an important part of the work.
Yeah, finding that connection has been interesting, that we've been able to make it happen. Can you talk about the idea for the street mural project and how it really took off here in Greensboro?
Sure. So I think two things were happening simultaneously. One is that our entire world is experiencing a really important cultural moment that I think is the combination of both in the impact of COVID-19 and also the really important cries and calls for racial equality and justice. And so, we're just talking about how right now we can't experience visual and performing arts in the ways that we normally would. And so where I think in other times people might move to the concert hall or to the theatrical stage or to the visual art gallery to creatively express important values and beliefs of our time, at this point, folks are moving to the street and to the public right-of-way to give voice to that. And so some communities, in North Carolina and other places made the decision to approve or to permit, if you will, one mural. And we actually felt like that the multiplicity of voices in this community was an important part of the narrative as well. And so we made the decision to create a program that will allow for multiple voices and multiple artists to activate themselves through murals painted on public streets.
Okay, Schala and Sunny, you were a part of number 3, the third mural going on the street in Greensboro. Had you ever painted a street mural before?
Well, I have done several murals in the city of Greensboro, and I'll admit that I did a few chalk drawings with some of the children in art education, but this was a new experience painting the street.
What about you, Schala?
I've never painted on the street ever before in my life, but part of what I do with Schala Rocks is that I paint stones, like river rocks, and I put art on them and I place them in different places for people to pick them up. So I was a little familiar with filling in the cracks and dealing with that type of medium, but never before on the street. Okay,
so what drew you to this project?
The way that we heard about it, I have a very close friend who actually used to be a student of mine at A&T, and now she works with Arts Greensboro. She's the grant manager. And so she knows several artists, and so she kind of when they made the call and put the committee together to let artists know that they had the opportunity to paint, to create something and to put it out there, she let everyone know about it. And so me and my best friend, Schala, we discussed the opportunity of maybe us working together. So that's how we kind of heard about it.
So you decided you wanted to do it. Did you know what you wanted to paint?
At first, we kind of had an idea that we really wanted to put something out there that spoke to the cause and what was going on. But at the time, I had just purchased a shirt from someone, and it said, "Say it loud, I'm Black and I'm proud." And so when we were talking about it, it just kept popping up in different places. I think the song came on the BET Awards, and we were like, hey, this might be a sign. And so we just started to talk it out, and we drew it out, and then it was like, okay, this is going to be that call and response statement that's very well known in our community that we'll be able to use, and people can respond to it in a positive way.
So the two of you started out early on a Saturday morning, 6:30 in the morning, but then it wasn't just the two of you. You really had a community effort to make this happen, right?
Yeah. It was really exciting. As soon as we got approval for everything, we put the information out there, and it just kind of like sparked like fire. Everyone was really, really excited to be a part. Everyone wanted to let their voice be heard.
It almost sounds like a festival atmosphere, and I think when people see the art on the street, and hopefully that kind of they're reminded of that day and that time, that community spirit that went into making it.
Yes. Yeah. We hope that when people drive by or when they see it, that they feel encouraged and empowered to speak up. And we didn't want it to be specifically for one ethnic group, although we are African American, and we wanted to definitely represent that. But at the same time, we wanted people from all nationalities to feel empowered and to feel that they want to speak up and say things against injustices as well.
Hey, Ryan, this is the 3rd Street mural. What are the plans are there plans for any more, or what's kind of on the horizon as far as creative things in Greensboro?
There is without a doubt and without question more on the horizon. Exactly what it is and what shape it will take, we're pushing the pause button on that for just a moment. And that the city adopted a new cultural plan not that long ago. And so we want to make sure that the work we're doing through murals and public art is really tightly connected to the priorities in the cultural plan.
Thank you so much, Ryan, for all you're doing in Greensboro. And Schala and Sunny, we just can't wait to see what you do next. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosemary. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Rosemary.
Thanks, Ryan.
Want to see those murals for yourself? You can. There are 3 around downtown Greensboro, one on Davies Street in front of the Cultural Arts Center, one on Elm in front of the Civil Rights Center and Museum, and Say It Loud is on Lindsay Street next to Cumberland Park. When we come back, we are going to go to Greenhill Center for North Carolina Art, where there is something for children and adults alike. Stay with us. Welcome back to Gate City Insider. Today, our focus is on the arts community in Greensboro and how they are finding a way to grow and thrive even in these very difficult times. Barbara Richter is Executive Director of Greenhill Center for North Carolina Art, joining us via Zoom. Hello.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Very excited to be with you.
Can you share with us what happened at Greenhill back in March when everything shifted?
Well, I tell you, it was daunting. We were well on track to maybe meeting our most ambitious targets ever. We had just opened our NC Women Abstract Painters show. Our attendance was up by 30%. First time in 30 years, we had a show dedicated exclusively to women. We had just unveiled a whole new reimagined gala called Gates and Windows, which was very, very exciting. And then we were anticipating the opening of the Tanger Center and galleries that we were very honored to curate on the orchestra level at the Tanger Center. So needless to say, from one day to the next, all of these things were canceled.
Right then, it was just kind of emergency mode. We were all in that mode, like, okay, we have to shut it down. And we all kind of, I think most of us were on this thinking that it was going to, we'll do this and then we'll be back to normal, by summer maybe. But of course, that didn't happen. So how did you kind of shift at Greenhill and change your programming to continue to do the work?
Well, I think first we just took a giant deep breath. And then we came back to our mission. Our mission is to elevate and advocate on behalf of North Carolina artists. So we knew that we needed to come back to that. The second thing we did was we wanted our whole family and extended community to know that our physical space was closed, but the doors to our creative community were wide open. And then the third thing that we did was to really think about how are we going to deliver on that promise. And Rosemary, what we learned was that we could actually provide even greater depth than ever before, that we could grow our engagement, and we could fortify and strengthen the relationships that we have that were already very strong to the visual arts community.
So can you talk about how you did that?
So what we did was we introduced a whole new platform called Virtual Greenhill, which is a series. So in a way, we reintroduced our curatorial programming, our education programs, our artistic programs. We offered conversations with our artists throughout the state, studio tours. We went in depth, we went behind the scenes, we brought our viewers with us, maybe in the way that you saw, Rosemary, when you do your programs. Then we also offered weekly family programming, so through our studios. So we gave families continued enrichment. We did that every week at the same time so that families, even at a time of great uncertainty, knew that they could continue to participate in our studio programs. So it was quite exciting, very ambitious. And then we did this week after week after week after week. So we were really relentless. And in a way, instead of scaling back in a time of crisis, we actually ramped up. And I think that's made all the difference.
And so what was the response like to all that programming?
Oh, well, it's been gratifying because we've really grown. Typically, in a normal week, whatever you can call normal, if we had a program at Greenhill and 100 people here participating, we would be thrilled. You'd say, well, this was a very successful evening. We couldn't be any prouder. And now, week after week, we're engaging more than 2,000 people, and all over. And so that's exciting. That's growth. That's a new level of engagement that we're very proud of.
Barbara, what are you hearing from artists right now?
We're hearing from artists like the rest of us. They're looking for ways to continue to express themselves, to continue to work. And they're, looking to connect with audiences.
Why do you think art is so important right now in this time and space that we're in? I mean, has it changed as far as relevancy, you think?
Art is a way, it really underscores our shared humanity. It brings us together. It's a unifier. And I think that's what we all, need the most right now, is we need to be lifted up, and we need to remind ourselves that we have more in common. There's more that connects us than separates us, and art really takes us to that place.
Yeah, we all need community. We all need connection. We all need collaboration. All that more than ever before, I think.
Yes, no, definitely. There's no question about it. And I think that art has been offered a healthy platform for conversation. And, just so inspired by the murals and the public art that we're seeing all around us. I think it's a very powerful expression of what we're talking about here. And at Greenhill, we also have had many conversations that take art as a way to sort of open up new perspectives, and in this, with African American artists in particular, and that's been very, very healing and inspiring as well for us.
What's next for Greenhill?
Well, first of all, we're going to extend the life of this spectacular exhibition of NC women abstract painters. You see work by Felicia Van Bork behind us. We hope that many more people will have a chance to see this in person and not only through our virtual gallery. So that's number one. Number two, I think we're going to continue to innovate in the way we engage the public around art. We have some very exciting ideas that draw a direct connection to the murals that we have right outside our door. And so we're excited to unveil that very soon. And lastly, we're looking forward to the winter show. It's a 40-year tradition of the survey of North Carolina art. We're determined to rethink how we present it, but we are going to move ahead and have a physical exhibition as well as a digital catalog, and also develop new ways in which collectors can come in small groups and safely engage with the art and the artists.
Well, you can visit Greenhill online to enjoy their virtual programming and even some summer camps still for your children that are still going on. The website is greenhillnc.org. Barbara, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure. Thank you.
Gate City Insider continues in just a moment. We're going to head into the realm of musical theater with Community Theater Greensboro. Welcome back to Gate City Insider. Running an arts-based nonprofit is tough in normal times. At a pandemic and being forced to shut your doors, it might seem impossible, but that's what creative people do so very well, and you might even call it magical. Roz Fulton makes magic happen all the time at Community Theater Greensboro, and this summer has really been no exception. Hi, Roz. Thanks for joining us.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
So let's go back to March. What was happening at CTG when the pandemic first started, and kind of what was your initial reaction?
So back in March, we actually were getting ready to open A Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder, and we were, actually at the very last dress rehearsal, and that's when the governor's order came to shut down. So we put a postponement on that production. Also had Matilda the musical in rehearsal, so had to put that on hold. And I, like most people, thought, this will happen, maybe for a week or 2 weeks, and then we'll get back to normal. But as we can see, this has lasted longer than I think any of us anticipated.
So then what? Once you realized this was not just a couple of weeks, what happened then? How did you kind of shift to kind of, keep it going a little bit, or to just survive, I guess?
So, the longer that, as the weeks went by and the months went by, community theater, what we did entertain. So for us, we had to start thinking, what can we do from an online standpoint to still continue to give the community something to look forward to? So we started yoga classes. We also wanted the community to be involved in what we do. So we had performers record themselves singing and send in a song to us, and we would share that on our social media pages as well. So that was very, very, very well received. And again, it gave people something to look forward to.
Yeah, it gave us life. We needed that creative outlet. I think during this pandemic, we've known that more than ever. We needed that entertainment and that connection, even if it was through a phone or a computer screen. And then, then we saw, this has been a lot going on this summer. The protest and the people coming together to stand up for what is right and against injustices and inequities. And that's always been a driving force behind the mission at Community Theater of Greensboro, I know. So when there was some vandalism downtown and the theater was downtown, what was that like for you? There had to have been so many emotions kind of going on for you at that time.
It was a very emotional time. I sit on both sides of the fence. I was angry at everything that was going on at the time. I was hurt, was upset. You start to feel like, I understand, I get it. We're all mad. We want to see change happen in this country. And then it turned to a different side when things turned violent and the theater was damaged. I sat and I cried because I'm like, why hurt my theater? So all kind of emotions went through during that time. Immediately after that happened, the very next day, I had about 25, 30 people down here helping us board up our windows. So that in itself showed me that, this community and the arts community is very strong and very supportive of one another. And then we had a wonderful artist, Shan Ferree Holder, that reached out to me and said, can I paint a mural on your boards? We can't have the theater just boarded up with regular plywood. There has to be a message. There has to be something that gives people hope. So we, again, had volunteers that come down and helped her do that. And it was just something beautiful and something special that we all can feel a part of.
And I've seen the photos of the art. I've been down there myself, of course, but to see the photos of it on social media and over and over, it's uplifting in itself. So now you have you actually have people on stage in the Star Theater sometimes now. We've been watching the performances live on Facebook for the last several weeks, Thursday evenings. How did you make that happen, and what has that been like for you and those performers?
So it originally started with, we had some very talented young African-American men in our community, and some of them either just graduated college or were in Broadway shows and were actually home during this time. Whatever it was within my heart and within my spirit, I wanted to give them an opportunity to perform and them an opportunity to shine. So we had our first concert on June the 18th. And very, very well received. We had, almost 4,000 people view that one concert. It was just mind blowing. And so just something from there, I said, well, there are so many other people in our community and they want to perform too. So how can we take this opportunity and safely do it and allow people to express themselves by song, and also see each other that we have just been missing for a very long time.
So what is next for CTG? What's on the horizon?
As we continue to travel through this pandemic, we have to continue to think of ways that we can be creative. How can we, again, with social distancing and wearing masks, how can we get a small cast together to perform a show? Because whether it is online or whether restrictions are increased to indoor gatherings, people want the arts. People want to be able to see a show and see their friends in a show, see their children in a show. That's what's missing right now. And I think not just for community theater, but any other organization, as long as we can do it safely and as long as we can, protect our performers, protect our staff, we should try to do whatever we can.
All right, Roz, thank you so much. You can follow Community Theater of Greensboro on Facebook for updates on those live performances and also ways to help. Always great to see you.
All right, thank you so much. Really appreciate all the support.
You can support our arts community through CTG, Greenhill, and many, many others throughout Greensboro. You can also contribute to Greensboro Artist Emergency Relief Fund, and that is at artsgreensboro.org. That is our time on Gate City Insider today. Thank you so much for joining us. We will see you next time.